welcome to an all-new edition of CMSTV Christian Media Spotlight. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Joe Neal. Our special guest joining us via Skype is Andy Erwin, co-director and co-editor of the brand new movie I Can Only Imagine, which explores the true life story of lead singer Mercy Me, Bart Millard, and the story behind the hit song I Can Only Imagine. Here's a look at the new movie premiering in theaters March 16th.
It's an amazing song.
Just kind of happened. Took about 10 minutes, I guess.
Bart, you didn't write this song in 10 minutes. It took a lifetime. How'd you do this?
You know, I've never told anybody my story. When I was 11 years old, life was tough.
Where's Mama?
She's gone. She don't want me no more. And she don't want you neither.
And I've always loved music. And I found some songs that I held on to. They gave me hope.
Mercy me, that can't be his real voice.
Because I needed it.
Dad, I can do this.
No, you can't. And you're gonna blink your eyes and you're gonna realize that life has gotten you nowhere because you chased some stupid dream.
I'm leaving, Shan.
I want you to know that I pray for you all the time. And I hope that you find whatever it is that you're looking for out there.
What are you running from?
My dad.
Then write about it. Let that pain become your inspiration.
I got some stuff I need to sort out.
And I deal with it the only way I know how. And that's to write a song.
You hungry?
Set the table.
What is this?
I want to make things right. You and me.
My dad was a monster, and I saw God transform him.
You have a gift. Real gift.
I didn't think that God could do that. And so I wrote this song for my dad.
It is an all-new edition of CMSTV Christian Media Spotlight. We give you the stories and testimonies behind your favorite personalities in Christian entertainment. And these guys are no strangers to the Christian film market, with Mom's Night Out and Woodlawn among the projects they've done. They have a brand new project, the new film coming out on March the 16th. It's the true story of Bart Millard's and Mercy Me's hit song I Can Only Imagine, starring J. Michael Finley. It's got Cloris Leachman, Dennis Quaid in there as well. Please welcome Andy Erwin from the Erwin Brothers talking about I Can Only Imagine the movie. Andy, how are you?
I'm thrilled to be with you. I mean, I'm really excited about talking about this movie. It's been a fun one to do.
It is. It's awesome. Just seeing this movie, and I listened to an audio conversation we did a couple of years ago when we talked with Bart about this song, and he said, "quote His goal was to write songs that outlast them," and he believes this is one of those songs that it truly has happened here. What are some of the joys of bringing I Can Only Imagine to life? Just the joys, the challenges. Did it involve a lot of meetings with Bart, hearing his story, and how did this whole process just come to light?
You know, it was one of those things that just kind of fell into our lap. That we didn't really expect to tell this story. I knew and loved the song. I mean, that song means so much to millions of people. You know, everybody can tell you exactly where they were the first time when they heard I Can Only Imagine. But we didn't know the kind of the personal story of what went on in Bart's life to create the music. And so I invited him to a screening of Mom's Night Out when we were finishing that movie. And at the screening, he pulled me aside and he said, after he had seen the movie, he said, "I don't know if you know this, but there's a group of people at a movie studio that are working on my life story about behind the song I Can Only Imagine." And I said, "I don't know if you know this, but they sent us a script this morning to see if we were interested." And so it was just kind of one of those things that was meant to be. But then as we dug into it, we spent a lot of time with Bart and Brent and John, my brother John, and then Brent McCorkle, that wrote the script spent a lot of time just really trying to figure out what makes him tick and really getting all the little pieces of the story. And the more we uncovered with the story, the better it got. And we just kind of had to sit back and pinch ourselves and say, how has the story not been told? And how do we get to be the ones to tell it? So it's my favorite thing we've ever worked on.
Being such an iconic song, the most played in Christian music, certainly. Was there any pressure of bringing a song like this to film and just doing the song justice, or is it more of just a joy and an honor, if nothing else?
It's both of those things. I think it's both exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time. Because we knew that if we didn't get it right, there's at least 6 million fans out there that are going to be very upset at us. But we asked Bart, when we started, we said, what is it that this song delivers? What is it that, people take away from it? And he said, unquestionable, it's just a rush of hope. And so we said, well, that's our destination for the movie too. The movie has to deliver that same emotion. And so we kind of worked with his story and kind of got it to the place where you feel that same thing, just kind of with a megaphone, amplifying those feelings. And so, and then finding the right guy to play Bart, because he has such an iconic voice, we had to have somebody that could do their own singing. And when we found this kid, John Michael Finley, we found him on Broadway. He was the understudy for Jean Valjean in Les Mis when we found him, and just an amazing kid, amazing talent, first feature film. And when we found him, we knew we had a movie.
Well, let's talk about it's a good segue. Let's talk about the casting here for a moment. You have just a tremendous cast. J. Michael Finley among them. You got Dennis Quaid in there as well, Cloris Leachman. What was a little bit about the process behind the casting, just of all these wonderful parts and how they all came together?
It was a dream come true. We found John Michael. We knew that we had a Bart, but then we needed a great supporting cast. And so the role of Arthur is a very challenging, dramatic role. And we felt like there was only about 4 or 5 people on our short list that could play it. And Dennis was one of those top 5. The only thing that we didn't know is if we could play somebody that's rough, because he always plays kind of the nice guy that gets a little bit nicer by the end of the story. He came in and just embraced this role for what it was and said, I've never gotten to play a guy like this, and to show this kind of transformational film. And there's a couple of scenes where it just blew us away just to watch it happen. We were just sitting back by the monitor, eating popcorn and watching the movie come together. It was just, a treat to watch these guys kind of to go at it in this argument scene. Cloris Leachman won an Oscar before I was born, and so having heard the cast, she's a trip, man. She is a trip. And then Priscilla Schreier from War Room, and Trace Adkins, the country singer, and Madeline Carroll. It's just top to bottom a strong cast. And we had the premiere in Nashville the other night, and just celebrating with those guys. I was a proud director. John and I were really amazed that once you have a cast like that, you just kind of let the movie happen. It was really cool.
Before the interview, they sent me a preview screener, and it is an amazing movie. Job well done, sir. And I'm hearing a lot of the feedback from a lot of the musicians and artists as well that just absolutely love this movie and that you guys just knocked it out of the park. So great job to all of you guys who were involved with the making of this movie. Now, I heard Bart just recently in one of the interviews that he done, and he had said that this song means a little bit different meaning to him now than when it did obviously 20 years ago when this song first was written. And obviously he did a new rendition of the song which plays in the closing credits, a new version of what I believe he said, quote, what the song means to him now. Do you get the feeling in hearing and talking to Bart over the last few years that this song definitely takes on a brand new life and a brand new meaning to him than when it did when the stories of the movie all were first coming together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest treat has been to watch Bart's reaction at each step along the way. He's been very involved. And he did the new version of I Can Only Imagine. We shot a music video for it that's out right now as well. And, when he recorded that, he sent it to me first, me and John, to kind of listen to it. And it was just, there was such a joyful feel to it. It was more of a celebration. And I think the first version of Imagine that we highlighted in the movie, really was reflective, kind of trying to imagine what it'll be like and trying to process the loss of a loved one. But 20 years later, I think it's a celebration song, and to see the joy that is where Bart's at right now, and just to be on that journey with him, it's been a privilege. It's been a real privilege, and I've done this. We've done several movies either inspired by true stories or directly true stories, and so much of the time you have to wrestle through the story you're telling versus who the person really is, and try to find where that is. But with Bart, absolutely, what you see is what you get, and he's absolutely the real deal, and it's just such a treat to tell the story about a guy that you respect that much, and it's just a lot of fun.
He is a tremendous guy for all that he's done in Christian music. That is, of course, Bart Millard, who we're talking about, of Mercy Me, and the Erwin brothers' latest movie, I Can Only Imagine, hits theaters March 16th. Go see it in theaters. It's going to be a tremendous movie that will surely uplift your entire family. It's one of those just inspiring stories. So you get a whole new take on how the iconic song, I Can Only Imagine, came to be. When they're watching this movie and when they're done, obviously, watching it, what do you want just people, message-wise, to take back to their churches, to take back to their families? What do you want them left with at the end of the day after watching this movie?
Bart said that his dad was a monster, and he said he watched his dad go from being a monster as he's passing away of cancer to a man that was totally in love with Jesus and the man that he always hoped he'd be. He experienced redemption right there at the end of his life. And Bart says, if the gospel can change that dude, the gospel can change anybody. And I think that's really the message of the story. Nobody's beyond redemption. Nobody's beyond hope. There's no relationship that is too broken for the power of experiencing unconditional love in Jesus Christ. And it is a powerful, powerful story that highlights that I think will bring that rush of hope to anybody that watches it.
Now, as a filmmaker as well, you've had quite the journey, having gone from ESPN, and did a little bit of that ESPN experience certainly lend itself well to producing a movie like Woodlawn? Has just that experience in the television industry lend itself well to some of these movies you've done along the way?
Yeah, I think every step kind of plays a key in the next step. I think whether it's sports camera work or directing music videos or documentaries or, just working around a lot of the filmmaker friends that we have, you learn something each step of the way. My director for ESPN that I used to work with was at the premiere the other night in Nashville, and just was neat to talk to him. And I think I learned, the ability of collaboration, be a part of a team, and that working on a project as a group, as a community that you're all proud of. I think we learned a lot of things along the way. I think it all plays into the storyteller you kind of become. And, absolutely, this movie was a team effort, an incredible team effort, whether it was working with my brother and Kevin Downs, our producing partner, Cindy Bond, the founding producer that really had the vision for this 8 years ago and sunk her teeth into this project and wouldn't let go. Brent McCorkle, the writer with John, and then just our entire cast and crew. It is top to bottom a collaborative effort, and everybody's fingerprints are on this story. And to celebrate, when it all kind of works like this, it's just been a joyful experience, because it's a film that we're really, really passionately proud of. What a privilege to work on a story like Bart's.
And when did you decide that you wanted to make the jump into inspirational filmmaking? Was it during your time at ESPN? Was it even before that? I know you came out with October Baby, and then one thing led to another. Then along comes Mom's Night Out and Woodlawn, and now I Can Only Imagine. At what point did you decide you wanted to make the jump into filmmaking?
I don't have a lot of ambition in life. I was really satisfied working for ESPN. My brother, on the other hand, is a crazy dreamer. And he always had the dream of eventually getting there. But I think along the way, you kind of lose sight of the dream, and you kind of almost give up. And so John was working on the set of Courageous with the Kendrick brothers, doing second unit, and he was directing the action sequences. And so finally one day, Alex pulled John aside and said, "John, what is your purpose?" And John said, "I didn't know how to answer that, I guess to get a paycheck." And Alex said, "It's time for you and your brother to really ask the question of the Lord, what stories do you have for me to tell and for us to tell?" And John came home and had a script for a movie called October Baby that was this little independent drama inspired by a true story about a girl that goes to find her birth mother because she finds out she's the survivor of an abortion and it was adopted and didn't know about it. And we did this little tiny indie drama that shouldn't have worked, and somehow it ended up on the front page of the New York Times. And it just really lit our fire for the power of story and how much we love telling stories. And then we did a comedy, Mom's Night Out, and then eventually ended up with Woodlawn. And with Woodlawn, we fell in love with the power of telling a true story because it allowed us to put the gospel very overtly in it without it feeling forced because of somebody's real life experience. And so we fell in love with that form of storytelling, and that's what led us to Imagine. And I think our brand really has gravitated towards amazing true stories that show the power of the gospel and redemption in action.
And that's, I think, what separates you guys and what brings a whole new dynamic to what you guys bring to the table, because you mentioned something, I think, very crucial. It's not just about, the setting. It's not just about the cast, but it's about the storytelling and the art of storytelling, bringing it all together. Do you think that's a lost art in today's medium, or do you think there's more of an emphasis on storytelling in today's movies than ever was before?
It's a mixed bag. I think as a culture as a whole, I think there has been a lot that's formulaic. But I think as Christians, the cool thing is, we've been playing catch up, and I think the storytelling in faith and Christian films has taken leaps and bounds forward. And I think because we abdicated for 80 years of an industry that lapped us, and because we felt like we had to kind of abstain from movies, and I think as a result, there was some really courageous people and pioneersmen, frontiersmen that kind of stepped into the game and said, "Hey, we want to be involved in this," and they had to learn an industry that we didn't know, and as a result, they were very, very brave. And I think because of those trailblazers, it's opened up the doors for filmmakers like myself, and then hopefully generations beyond us. And I think we've all pushed each other forward. There's a group of probably 6 to 8 filmmakers that are doing this, full time. There's a small community that are in the faith community that are really pushing each other towards excellence and quality and learning the power of the craft of storytelling. And as a result, I think you see our seat at the table really growing, and it's a genre that's really finally finding its voice. And so that excites me. And so it excites me when I see a really great film. To see what happens with a movie like War Room and that blow up like it did, and see the Kendricks have the impact that they did. Or I remember watching Case for Christ in the theater and called John Gunn, the director, and I was like, "Dude, you've just done the best faith film I've ever seen, and that includes anything I've done." And and then hopefully I Can Only Imagine is kind of a next step, and we just kind of keep pushing each other forward as quality is something to chase. And I think it really allows the stories to really begin to resonate outside the church walls. And I think God's up to something special. So I think it's the best time in the world to be a faith filmmaker.
Amen. Good stuff. And thank you guys for definitely what you're bringing to the Christian film industry. It's just tremendous to see you guys continue to push the envelope on just the storytelling and the inventive and creativeness. I think we need more of you guys out there working on some films. And what is it like? Of course, we're talking with Andy Erwin, who's joining us, kind enough to join us amongst his busy release week schedule here on Skype to join our show to talk about the brand new movie I Can Only Imagine. It's got a great cast: J. Michael Finley, Cloris Leachman, Dennis Quaid, whole 9 yards. You can see it on theaters March 16th. Go support this movie out there today. What's it like, not only with this movie, but in other movies as well, being able to work with your brother alongside him and create this vision together? Is it a joy? Is it a challenge? Is it family? Does it come second nature? Is it all the above? What's it like working with your brother?
It's all of the above. Working with your brother is always highly dysfunctional, but also a joy. I think John's one of the most talented people I know. He really pushes me towards doing a better and better job every day, and hopefully I do the same for him. And we each approach a story from a different perspective, and we find that the beauty of the best idea wins is kind of in the collaboration, kind of the friction with respect. And so we embrace conflict as part of the process, but we do it from a standpoint of respect and not ego, and passion for making the story as good as possible. And it's a real safety net, and it kind of extends beyond just John. But we really embrace the power of collaboration, and so there's other creatives that work with us on a continual basis, like Brent McCorkle and Kevin Downs, our producing partner, and others that have all sat in the director's chair, and we all have kind of a mutual respect for the story. And so we really refine the ideas in real time, and it's the same thing that Pixar did at their process of collaboration. When you're on the hot seat, it's never comfortable, but when you embrace it that this is going to make the best story possible, some cool things happen. So I wouldn't have it any other way. I love working with John. I think that tremendously talented filmmaker, and we can do this job separately, but we just find that the stories are more powerful when we work together. And so every once in a while you'll see us bickering off on the side of the set, and they'll be like Cain and Abel are going at it again. But hey, it makes a great movie, and we love it. I love working with my brother.
Your brothers, it wouldn't happen any other way. It's bound to happen on occasion. You guys wouldn't be brothers if that wasn't the case.
The funniest was Sean Astin on Woodlawn at the end of this. It was our second movie together, and he came to us afterwards and he said, "I've decided I want to be an Erwin. I want to be an Erwin brother." And he's like, "I want to be the third Erwin brother." And I said, "Okay, Sean, are we talking Sean Astin Erwin, kind of like hyphenated?" He's like, "Astin is dead to me. I'm just Sean Erwin now." So yeah. So he's so it's it's kind of contagious. Everybody loves that kind of spirit of collaboration and the brothers thing. And I don't know if it's a marketable tool because there's a lot of brother filmmaker teams out there, but it works. It works, and if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yes, indeed. Andy Erwin of the Erwin Brothers joining us to talk about the movie I Can Only Imagine, among other things as well. As we are airing this today, we are about ready to do a live rendition of Fun Fast Facts, a celebration of the best segments that we've done of this particular segment. So with a few minutes left in our program, we're going to do one with Andy Erwin. It's time for our Fun Fast Facts, a chance we get to find out a little bit more about your favorite personalities in Christian entertainment. And here we go. First question. Favorite moment on set that you can recall of I Can Only Imagine? Do you have a favorite moment that occurred on set?
Yeah, my favorite moment was we were with Dennis Quaid. There's a scene where he smashes a plate over Bart's head, and Bart storms out, and he's left there. And I look over at Bart, and the real Bart Millard, and he's off by the monitor. And he just kind of breaks down, and I go over and I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Thank you for that." He said, "I never considered what my dad felt and the amount of shame that he was dealing with until once I left the room. I never saw what that looked like, and being able to watch that, he's like, it really gave me a level of empathy for my dad that I've never had like this before." And so it was really cool to see him as the first audience. So that's one of the favorite moments. The second one was with Cloris Leachman, and Cloris is 90 years old, won an Oscar before I was born. And her first day on set, she pretended like she had to be in a wheelchair, and she was barely there, and really incoherent, and all this type of stuff. And we're all babying her along. "Miss Leachman, are you okay?" And then the second day, she had the day off, and that son of a gun, she went indoor skydiving with her daughter. And so it was all an act that she was just trying to get attention. And I'm like, good grief. So, on opposite ends of the spectrum, there were some fun moments like that.
She can act with the best of them, even at 90, as clearly demonstrated.
Yeah.
Fun Fast Facts continues now. Favorite moment is our favorite event that you got to cover and travel with while working for ESPN. Do you have a favorite event that you got to do while working for them?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My favorite one was I got to, when the NFL first started going to do games internationally, I got to do the very first one in Mexico City. It was the Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers, 2005, I think. It was for Sunday Night Football. And I go down there to Sol Azteca Stadium, 110,000 fans, all of them very well versed in their version of football, soccer, and trying to figure out this American football rules. It was hilarious. But they take us in, and once you go inside, there's this 15-foot tall fences that just absolutely made it like this cavernous, like gladiator event. And they lock you in, and it's go time. So it was an amazing time. Sorry, guys. I got the call coming in. Sorry, go ahead.
Andy Erwin joining us for just a couple more minutes here on CMS TV as our fun, fast facts segment. Question for you as well. Do you have a favorite scripture? Do you have a favorite either scripture or a favorite person in the Bible that you find yourself at times most closely relating to?
I relate the most to Timothy, and I think that he was a guy that felt called. He was called to a task that he felt was bigger than him, and as a result, just had to battle feeling up to the task. And Paul always encouraged him that through his anxiety of the leadership position, and I think God gives grace for it. And I think my favorite verse is that He hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And I think God gives you grace that if He calls you to a task, He gives you a task that is beyond your means. That allows you to really depend on Him giving you the ability to do it. So those would be my favorites.
Good stuff. And lastly, favorite locale, either for I Can Only Imagine or just filmmaking in general, favorite locale you've had the privilege to travel to and film?
This one was amazing. I've been around the world and done a lot of places, but Oklahoma was amazing to film in. Just so cinematic. And this house that we filmed at for Bart's dad's house was just such a beautiful location. So loved it. It's a lot of fun. I would go back there and film in a heartbeat.
That is our fun, fast facts statement. A chance we get to find out a little bit more about your favorite personalities in Christian entertainment. For aspiring filmmakers who may be in film school, who may be watching this movie, any advice for those folks who are looking to, crack into the independent film industry? Any advice for those folks?
My advice is to take the time to learn your craft. I think, so much of the time in this microwave society, we want to kind of jump straight to the finish line. And I think, filmmaking is something that you look at most filmmakers that they don't really find their voice until they're in their late 30s or early 40s. And, you look at somebody like J.J. Abrams didn't do his first film until he was 43. And so I think there's a long incubation time. So if it is something you're passionate about, be willing to give 20 years of your life to learn the craft. And it's worth doing, pursuing excellence in filmmaking. And I think God will give you something to say, and it's worth it. We need that next generation to rise up and to begin to develop that skill that we can pass the baton to, and we're passionate about that.
For those who want to take part in the movie, who want to learn more, tell us different ways in which we can do that, either online or in theaters. Tell us a little more about how they can get involved.
Yeah, if they go to icanonlyimagine.com, there's a theater tab. Find a theater near you. Look for it there. And it's March 16th, 3/16 opening weekend. That whole weekend is so critical for us because how it does opening weekend determines how long it's going to be in theaters and how broad and it goes to the country. And it's really important to kind of get out and support it if you want more films like this. Seeing it in theaters is a critical experience.
Well, definitely, we're going to encourage as many people to go out there and see it this weekend as we can. March 16th, go see it. J. Michael Finley, Cloris Leachman, Dennis Quaid, and just an all-star ensemble cast, bringing the true life story of Bart Millard's I Can Only Imagine, the iconic song in Christian music, to life. Andy Erwin, joining us via Skype, is one of those folks that has helped make that a reality. Thank you, Andy, and of course your brother, for helping to make this film just an incredible experience. And we wish you nothing but the best in personal and professional success to you guys as you continue to just put forth just some tremendous films for us all to be inspired and uplifted and enjoyed by it. So thank you again for appearing on our show, and much continued success.
Thank you for all you do. Appreciate you helping get the word out.
And that is all the time we have for this edition of CMS TV Christian Media Spotlight. Special thanks to Andy Erwin joining us via Skype. Make sure to join us next time when we will have John Erwin, Andy's brother, talking about his perspectives on I Can Only Imagine. That's next time on an all-new Christian Media Spotlight. We'll see you back here next time for more stories and testimonies behind your favorite personalities in Christian media right here on CMS TV. And make sure you see I Can Only Imagine March 16th.